there's something I want to tell you tonight. Please don't just skim through it. After hearing this story, you may feel a little moved deep inside. That's not scary. In fact, the fact that it moved is proof that there is still a part of you that can respond. If it's dull, you won't feel anything. If you feel something, it means that there is still room for movement within you. April 1st is too good to be just another day. Why can we say that? I'll tell you about it tonight. What you do after you've listened is up to you. However, I would rather people spend their time listening than not listening. Anyone who watches the flow of the sky should understand. The moon has already reached its fullest stage and is now quietly drifting away. After the full moon, the moon gradually gives up its light. At this time, the moon floating in the night sky becomes thinner as the day progresses, and in response to this, it becomes easier for the atmosphere on the ground to feel as if something is being pulled in. This has been passed down in many regions since ancient times, and people who deal with nature, such as when to harvest crops and when to sow seeds, have long observed the flow of the moon's path and found meaning in its changes. When it fills, it spreads. When it pours, it adjusts. It is wisdom that has been perceived over hundreds of years by people who have looked up at the sky. In other words, now is not the time to inflate. It's not time to build something new. This is not the time to keep it all to yourself. Remove excess, remove turbidity, and open a path to move forward. Tomorrow, that kind of nature will be in place. The excess here does not just refer to the quantity of things. The amount of thoughts repeating in your head, the weight of emotions stored up in your heart, the decision to continue holding on even though the time to let go has passed. It also includes things that are hard to see with the naked eye. In fact, it's the things that can't be seen that are more troublesome. This is because we tend to feel the weight of things we can see, but things we cannot see become so familiar to us that we forget they are heavy. Many people imagine a moment of change in their luck as a spectacular event. The day when something is given, the day when something suddenly begins. It's the day when a visible change occurs, for example, when good news suddenly comes your way. Years of hard work will be rewarded in an instant. Love is unexpected. The numbers in your bank account increase. To be recognized by someone, you can get what you've always wanted. You might imagine such a scene, but I see it differently. Before the tide truly turns, there will come a time when things start to wear down. The weight will fall off before it gains. The blockage will be removed before it opens. Anything you don't need loses its place before it even comes in. This is similar to organizing a room. If you want to bring in new furniture, you must first remove the old furniture. If you stack things on top of each other while the space is still full, it would just end up being cramped. No matter how nice a chair you buy, if you don't have a place to put it, you'll just have to leave it in the hallway. That would be pointless. The exact same thing happens inside of people. Even if you want to incorporate new ideas, you can if old ideas are still occupying space. Even if you want to feel new emotions, there is no room if your mind is filled with old emotions. And with the moon tilting towards the side that is being eroded, April 1st will be in a very critical position. Why use the word I? Because it's not completely finished yet. The previous current still lingers, floating about. But preparations are definitely underway to start again. The boundary where the old and the new are about to be replaced. If you switch, tomorrow will switch. The atmosphere just before is strong. The time just before the switch is very delicate. Once it's completely finished, you won't have any doubts. Once it's fully begun, all that's left is to move forward. However, when people are caught in between, they tend to feel a sense of discomfort, as if they belong to neither. The afterimage of the old flow and the premonition of the new flow exist simultaneously. That's why I can't calm down. That's why it's hard to know what to do. In this state of discontent, will you be able to let go of the unnecessary things, or will you cling to them even more because of your anxiety? This is a turning point for tomorrow. If you take it easy on the exchange day, you will realize it later when you look back. I should have sorted out then. If I had let go then, I would have been able to move more easily. If I had stopped that hesitation with that clock, it would have been easier to get on with the next flow. If I had just had the courage to let go of my old baggage back then, I might have come a long way by now. If I had trusted my intuition at that time, I might not have had to take such a detour. The regrets that easily turn into such regrets do not necessarily come from spectacular failures. In fact, the regret that comes from not doing anything can linger for a long time. If you try and fail, you can learn something from it. You can also start over. But if nothing has moved, you ain't go back to the same moment again. You can't turn back time. The atmosphere at that time, the flow of the moment, and my state at that time. The moment when they all come together will never come in the same form again. That's why I want you to not take days like tomorrow lightly. I'm not saying you should have some grand ceremony. No special tools are required. No complicated knowledge is required. There's no need to buy expensive items. You don't need to ask anyone's permission. There's no need to go anywhere. You don't need to go anywhere special. What you need is to see through the excess that has been sitting inside you for too long. That's all. But that's the one thing that many people can't do. Because excess feels like a part of you. Letting go of something you've been with for a long time can feel like losing a part of yourself. But that's an illusion. You will still be you, just with less baggage. Here, the you could transfer is something that seems to protect you, but actually prevents you from moving forward. At first, I thought I was thinking carefully. They anticipated every risk, considered every possibility, and tried to make the best choice. However, before you know it, thinking itself can become an escape. You don't have to make a decision while you're thinking. If you don't make a decision, you won't fail. Continuing to think is an excuse for not taking action. It's not a high test. It's a standstill. It's not just about having too much. Memories of the past. Old promises are no longer working. Old rules that I imposed on myself. Words that someone said to me, goals that I couldn't fulfill, and favors that I couldn't repay. If you walk while carrying all of these things, your legs will become heavy. Even if each one is small, they add up to form a mountain. If your hands are full, you can't receive anything new. Even if something is presented in front of you, you cannot accept it if your hands are full. And they assume that the lack of luck was just bad luck. But it's not a matter of luck. My hands just weren't open. What others think, what they might say, what impression they might have, the fear that they might be disliked, the anxiety that they might be laughed at. If you try to pick them all up, you wouldn't be able to hear your own voice. When your head is filled with the voices of others, what you really want becomes buried. We are so focused on conforming to someone else's answer that we don't have time to find the answer that is right for us. There's a difference between caring and cherishing. There is a will to cherish things, but there is only fear in caring. There must be a better time. I've been saying for years, once I'm a little more prepared, once I have a little more confidence, once the situation is a little more favorable, once I have saved up a little more money, once I have a little more knowledge, once I have a little more understanding from those around me. But more often than not, the perfect timing never comes, no matter how much you wait. There will never be a day when you are perfectly prepared, because you ain't know if you're perfectly prepared until you try. The moment will come when you look back after you have taken action and are glad that you did. Only those who take action can look back. Those who didn't move had no place to turn around. Maybe I can't do it. It may not be for you. The path I chose may be wrong. Maybe I'm the only one who's having trouble. This feeling must have initially been a way to protect me. Don't jump into anything reckless and don't get hurt. But at some point, haven't they become chains that bind our feet? Haven't the walls that were meant to protect us gradually turned into walls that keep us trapped? The walls that were supposed to protect us from external dangers may also be blocking out external possibilities. That person is doing well. That person got results faster. What that person has that I don't. He grew up in a privileged environment. That person has talent. That person has a great capacity. Comparison may have initially been a tool to help us locate ourselves. Where are you now, and where should you go? It's natural to look around to find out. However, before you know it, it can become a tool to make you feel smaller. The more you compare, the more you see what you lack. When you start to see only what you lack, you lose sight of what you already have. When people lose sight of what they have as a being, they begin to feel empty. But it's not really empty. It's just that it's no longer visible. It's just that we see ourselves through the cloudy sky of comparison, which makes our true contours blurred. At first, these things appear to be prudence, wisdom, a wall of self-protection. People around you may see you as a thoughtful person. However, as the moon approaches, they tend to become weights rather than weapons. Especially in the tense situation just before it becomes April 1st, people who are still wearing weights may find it difficult to perceive changes in the flow. If you attach a weight to it and put it in water, it will sink. Anyone can understand that. However, because the weight inside your heart is invisible, you may not even realize that you are sinking. They have become accustomed to being underwater and believe that this discomfort is normal, even though they should be able to breathe above the water. I feel a bit short of breath. I just see it move forward. Somehow every day seems the same. I feel like something is missing somehow. I just can't enjoy it. In many cases, the true nature of this vague feeling is actually the excessive weight that has been carried for a long time. Please don't take this lightly. After the full moon is not just a quiet time. This is also a time when emotions and attachments that were previously visible gradually lose their shape, and instead, your true feelings and unnecessary habits become more visible. It is said that emotions tend to run high around the time of the full moon. Your mood may fluctuate greatly, and feelings that you normally suppress may come to the surface. The true feelings that are usually hidden suddenly come to the surface. But what remains after the tide recedes? Just as seashells and trash are left behind on a beach after the waves have receded, once the waves of emotions have subsided, it becomes easier to see your true inner state. When waves are rough, you can't see what's on the beach. But after the waves have subsided, everything remains as it was on the quiet beach. That's the time of year, including things you don't want to see. Just like looking at the rough ground after the salt has receded, it becomes easier to see what is really going on inside of you. What you are carrying too much of, what you are clinging to, what you are afraid of, what you are avoiding, and what you are putting off that rather than thinking of tomorrow as a day to add something, it would be better to treat it as a day to peel off the noise that is currently clinging to you. What is noise? It's thoughts that you hold on to because you feel anxious about throwing them away, even though you don't actually need them anymore. For example, thoughts that were correct in the past, but no longer suit you, or thoughts that have become a burden now. Beliefs that once supported you, but are now a burden. Ways of thinking that were necessary for you 10 years ago are now too restrictive for you. I'm afraid to let it go because we've been together for so long. The longer you have something, the more anxious you feel when you let it go. But that anxiety is not proof that you need it. I'm just used to it. The fear of losing something you're used to and the fear of losing something you really need are very similar in feeling. But the contents are completely different. Knowing the difference is one of the most important things you could do tomorrow. A relationship that is actually over but still appears to have potential. The warmth that once existed between us is no longer there. Even when we have a conversation, there is no resonance like before. Even when we're together, there's a certain air of calm. But I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of change. I think if I lose what I have now, there may not be anything else. So I still treasure the box, even though it's empty. Even though I know it's empty when I open it, I avoid opening it. If you don't open it, you'll continue to think there's something inside. But not opening it only protects the illusion. A choice that you actually want to make based on your own feelings, but you put it off because of someone else's opinion. Your life is yours. The path you choose to please someone else and the path you choose to follow your own voice may seem similar at first, but they will lead you to completely different places. The security you get from continually meeting other people's expectations is only temporary. Every time that sense of security is broken, you have to meet someone else's expectations. In this never-ending cycle, before you know it, you lose sight of what you even wanted. My own voice is hidden among the others, and I can no longer hear it. But just because I can no longer hear it doesn't mean it has disappeared. If you think about it quietly, you will see that it is still there. In reality, you are tired, but you keep moving because you feel like you will lose if you stop. However, you may be convinced that continuing to run is a sign of strength. Resting is not a weakness. Stopping is not defeat. In fact, those who can stop will go further the next time they start moving. Running feet will get you nowhere. You see, make good decisions when you're out of breath. A tired mind can no longer distinguish between what is important and what is not. People who are afraid of stopping may not actually be moving, but simply running away from stopping. Although it may appear to be moving, it may actually just be running around in the same place. At first glance, they seem to blend into the small details of everyday life and are not something worth taking out of your way to look at. But there is enough power to make the flow. Even a small stone in your shoe can hurt every time you walk. At first it bothers me, but as you continue walking, you get used to the pain. I even forget that it hurts, but my feet are still hurting. Before you know it, your walking style changes, your posture deteriorates, and what should be an easy path becomes difficult. Even though I could instantly feel better if I took off my shoes and removed the stone, I continued walking with the pain, refusing to take the time to do so. The same is true of noise in the mind. It will be easier if you take it out. However, they are reluctant to take the time to retrieve it, or they don't even realize that it is possible to do so. The pain has become so commonplace that it is difficult to imagine a life without it. And this is important. I can survive even if I miss tomorrow, April 1st. It may seem like nothing is happening. Everyday life continues. You can also eat there. I'll also work. There will also be conversation. You might even laugh. In the midst of busyness, the story I heard tonight may fade away. If things get weird, you might not remember it anymore. But that's not the problem. Sometimes the slow flow becomes fixed without it appearing to be happening. That's actually more troublesome. This is easy to understand if you think of it as the flow of water. There are places where the river flow is slightly stagnant. At first, it's just a little stagnant. The water appears to still be moving, but one tooth accumulates there. Next, Masada gets caught. The mud slowly sinks. Eventually, the water in that area becomes cloudy. The flow itself has not stopped. The river continues to flow, but that one spot will remain the same forever. And the stagnation slowly spreads. What started out as just one area has now begun to have an impact on the surrounding area. The same thing happens inside people. People realize that they are broken when they make a big mistake, when they lose something important, when their body becomes unable to move, and they're able to react to such big shocks. The pain is obvious, so we try to deal with it. But if it shifts quietly, it's hard to notice. Every day deviates a little from its normal course. If you look at just that one day, nothing seems to have changed. The difference between yesterday and today is almost zero. However, when you look back a week or a month later, you may find that you have come a long way. Even a deviation of 1 millimeter per day will amount to 10 centimeters if continued for 100 days. A deviation of 10 centimeters can no longer be ignored. It remains out of sync for days or weeks. And then I realize that I can't make a decision. For some reason, I see and feel better. For some reason, I'm confused about the same thing. For some reason, I feel like I can move forward, but I can't. There are things right in front of me that I need to do, but I see it and get started. There are things I want to do, but I just see it and get motivated. For some reason, I just don't feel like doing things that should be fun. This state of affairs quietly and surely seeps into everyday life. The person himself doesn't notice, because the changes from day to day are so small. If you treat tomorrow lightly, the impact may be subtle and lasting. But by the time you start to notice it, it has already penetrated quite deeply. And removing something that has penetrated deep is much more difficult than removing it while it is still on the surface. So I want to go see you tonight. Don't treat tomorrow as just another day that will pass you by. This phase is not a pressure to force yourself to start something. It doesn't mean you should rush into making a decision. It doesn't mean jumping into something new. In fact, the opposite is true. Can you create some space before you start? and stop taking on too much before you receive it. The margin that is most likely to be tested is an empty space. Many people are afraid of white space. I get anxious when I have no plans. I feel uneasy if I don't have something to think about. I feel like my value diminishes if I don't constantly fill my void with something. If my planner is completely blank, I feel like I'm wasting something. When I have time to do nothing, I feel guilty and lazy. But if there is no space, nothing new can come in. If the cup is full, no matter how much good you pour into it, it will only overflow. If the drawer is full, no matter how wonderful your things are, they won't fit. If your head is full, no matter how good an idea comes, there is no room for it. Even music sounds beautiful because there is silence between notes. If everything is filled with sound, it's just noise. White space has a role that only white space can play. Creating space does not mean becoming weak. It's not about reducing it. It's preparation to receive what comes next. It's not about being empty, but about having a place to receive it. If you've been feeling a bit cluttered lately, from the moment I wake up in the morning, I already feel like I'm being chased by something. Even though I'm still in bed, the list of things I need to do today starts going through my head. The to-do list is swirling in your head, and you don't know where to start. Even when I try to focus on one thing, another thing comes to mind. The day ends with this repetition. He is slow to make decisions. I find myself stopping to think about things that wouldn't have made me hesitate before. It takes a long time to choose an item on the restaurant menu. I leave messages I should be replying to for hours. Just choosing leather clothes is tiring. You're so exhausted by small choices that you don't have the energy left to make big choices. When it's time to make a really important decision, you're already out of fuel. I feel heavy, even though nothing particularly bad has happened. I feel like something is stuck deep in my chest. Things that should be fun aren't as enjoyable as they used to be. Even when he's smiling, it still feels superficial. Even when something good happens, the happiness doesn't last long. You quickly return to your original heaviness. You get pulled into the small things in front of you and easily lose sight of the original flow. Your mood for the day is affected by your reactions to things. A casual comment from someone can make you feel uneasy all day. A small problem can make everything unpleasant. Things that should be seen from a bigger perspective are drowned out by the small noise of everyday life. You should be looking at the forest, but you can only see the one tree in front of you. If you have even a slight feeling like that, you shouldn't overlook tomorrow. This is because in this moon phase, it's less about solving the problem and more about peeling back the layers that are creating it. At first glance, trying to solve the problem seems right. However, if you only address the surface of the problem without addressing its roots, the same problem will return again and again in a different form. It appears with a different face every time, but its roots are the same. Even if you buy weeds, if the roots remain, they will grow again. In the same way, if you try to solve only the problem in front of you while ignoring the unnecessary layers within you, the next problem will soon arise. And I feel like I'm struggling with the same thing again. That's not a lot of problems. This means that the dogami that creates problems is still within you. So the first thing to do is peel it off. People tend to try to move the outside. Try to change the environment. When you move, something changes. Changing jobs will allow you to become a new person. Changing where you live will surely change your mood. I sometimes think that. Trying to change relationships. Meeting new people can help you break out of the stagnation you feel now. You can be happy if you change the person you're dating. Being with someone will create this emptiness. There is something to be hoped for. Trying to rush results. If we don't produce results faster, if we don't put our efforts into practice faster, we'll be left behind. There's no time left. Sometimes I feel that kind of anxiety. However, if you continue to move forward while still holding on to things that need to be cut out, a new trend will quickly emerge. Even if you change location, the weight inside you stays with you. Your luggage will also be delivered to your new home. Even if you change people, the same patterns within yourself will repeat themselves. If you rush into a relationship and expect the same things from your new partner and end up with the same disappointment, it won't last long unless you have the foundation in place. A hastily built house will shake with the first wind. Even if you leave the old water in the pot and just pour new water on top, it will not become clear. The old water and new water mix together and end up boiling. Even if you pay attention and pour it out, the old stuff that accumulates, there will boil the new stuff. If you want clear water, you need to get rid of the old water first. It's only natural that if you pour everything out before pouring, the contents of the cup will become inhabitable. However, when it comes to our own inner selves, many people forget this common sense. These past few days as the moon fades remind me of that. There is no mechanism in nature that simply allows things to multiply. When salt is full, it is withdrawn. If you let a tree grow too thick, it will eventually fall. When the air warms, it rises, and when it cools, it falls. Increase and decrease are always one. One cannot exist without the other. The same goes for the uninhabited side. If we just keep increasing it, it will eventually overflow. When something overflows, you can no longer control it. That's why we need time to reduce it. To reduce is not to lose. It's about returning to its original form. What you need may not be to try harder. You're already working hard enough. If I put in any more effort, I might just end up exhausted. Perhaps he's trying to wring out a dry rag even more. It may not be necessary to increase it further. Aren't you already overwhelmed with information, schedules, relationships, and things to do? If we add more than this, it will become impossible to know where anything is. It may not even be about collecting more. I already have the knowledge, skills, and experience. What is lacking is the space to organize them and make them usable. The materials are there. There are also tools. However, my workbench is so messy I see ink get started. Isn't that the situation? Rather, it's about quietly putting an end to something you've been holding on to, something you've been carrying on for so long but no longer feel it has any meaning. Something you've been maintaining out of spite but your heart has long since drifted away. Quietly putting an end to all of that. There's no need to declare it out loud. Just quietly draw a line within yourself. Get rid of the doubts you've been holding on to, whether to do this or that. There's no need to cherish those doubts forever, and thinking about it as being doubtful is different. Thinking has a direction. We are moving forward, but there is no direction to confusion. It just goes around in circles in the same place. Spending time going around in circles is the same as wasting your time. Letting go of that uncertainty gives you direction. Let go of old interpretations that still hold you back. A decision I made in the past. What I believed in the past. It's a reflection of my past self. This is the kind of person I am. I can't do this. This is what happens to me all the time. I can't change myself. Is that interpretation still correct? I made that decision a few years ago. Is the person I was then really the same person as the person I am now? Or is it just something that has expired years ago, but is still sitting in the back of the refrigerator? It can't be good for your body if you keep eating foods that make you feel unwell. Carrying on a negative self-evaluation can't be good for your mind. That would be more in line with the atmosphere of tomorrow. I don't think the moon itself determines your life. It's not as simple as saying something will happen because the moon moved. But those who see the flow know. When people move without going against the rhythm of nature, they can easily reduce unnecessary friction. When swimming in a river, swimming against the current will consume more than twice as much energy. However, the current of the moon is similar in that if you swim with the current, you can travel the same distance with half the effort. Now, I am the flow of things. If you choose to let go in that flow, you may be able to let go of your heavy burden with less resistance than usual. On the other hand, if you try to bear it all in this situation, you may feel more pain than usual. Going against the flow just means using extra force. That power could have been used for something else. Tomorrow is not a day to add, but a day to organize. A day to tidy up your inner self a little, just like cleaning up a messy room. Throw away what should be thrown away, and keep only what should be kept. It's not a day to win, it's a day to clear the blockage. It's okay to wait a little longer before taking the plunge. Now, it's more important to create a situation where we can take on the challenge. Once the drain is unclogged, the water will begin to flow naturally. Today is the day to do the same thing within yourself. It is not a day to force the flow, but to remove what is blocking it. It is not a day to prove, but a day to quietly reselect. Re-choose what is important to you, not for the sake of showing it to others, but for yourself. There's no need to say it out loud. There's no need to declare it. Just make a quiet decision within yourself. That quiet decision can be more powerful than any loud statement. And those days do income loudly. It's not even marked on the calendar. It's not even featured on the TV news. It's not like people around me are making a fuss. It just comes quietly and passes quietly. It's precisely because it was something that happened without anyone telling me or any prior notice that I remember the spectacular opportunities that many people miss. Big events are memorable, but the quiet forks can only be used by those who notice them. A fork in the road is not necessarily a big cross. The places where the roads split into similar paths are not always obvious. In fact, the more important the fork in the road, the more likely it is to look like just one straight road. Whether you stop or pass by, whether you take a moment to look inward or just keep walking without thinking, these small differences can make a big difference in the scenery months or years down the line. April 1st is likely to be just that kind of day. Now here's one for you, and it hurts. I know it will be better to end it now, but what is it that I still have inside me? If you hear this question now, and something pops into your head, that's probably the answer, the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that suddenly crossed my mind. There's no need to push it aside and look for something else. The first thing that comes to mind is often the most compelling, because it's closest to the surface, because they're the ones most eager to be liberated. It may be a habit. It's something you do every day, but it's no longer beneficial to you. A routine that you want to quit, but can't. If someone asks why I continue to do it, I can only answer that it's because that's how I've always done it. If you continue even though there is no reason to continue, then there are plenty of reasons to quit. It may be an expectation from people. That person will change someday. That person will understand someday. Someday he will realize how I feel. While you wait to find out when that someday will come, your time continues to pass. Time spent waiting for someone to change is never returned. Couldn't you have used that time for yourself? It may be an attachment to past failures. If only I had done this at that time. If only I had said that at that time. If only I had chosen a different path at that time. I wonder how many times I have repeated those words. And even if it were repeated thousands of times, the past would not have changed even a millimeter. Holding your heart in bondage to things you cannot change is the same as giving up your power to live in the present to the past. If you keep sending energy to the past, you will have less energy available to use in the present. Now is the time to lose weight. It may be regret for a past that was not chosen. At that time, someone else was chosen instead of me. At that time, a different proposal was adopted instead of my own. What I wanted at the time ended up in someone else's hands. How long will you hold on to that memory? Unless you open your clenched hands, you will not be able to receive what comes next. Nothing can be put into the closed room. New things are only added when it is first opened. Or it could be a habit of belittling yourself. I do and have the qualifications to do that anyway. Even if I speak up, nothing will change. How many times have I said those words to myself? If someone else kept telling you that, would you want to be around them? You'll probably want to leave. But why do I allow it only to myself? Words spoken to oneself reach deeper than words spoken to others. Don't underestimate the importance of continuing to write words that make you smaller every day. Is there really a need to postpone it until tomorrow? I want you to look at that tonight. To look is not to analyze. It's not about finding out the reason. It's not about finding out why it happened. Just acknowledge that it is there. I have this inside me. It's been a long time. I have pretended not to see it, but it certainly exists. There's no need to keep it here any longer. Just acknowledge that. That alone loosens something. Perhaps from tomorrow onwards the atmosphere will slowly move towards the next phase. The moon continues to grow and soon prepares for the new month to begin. When that happens, people who are still carrying around extra things will get stuck somewhere, even if they try to move forward. When a ship sets sail, It must raise its anger before it can proceed. No matter how hard you spit, no matter how hard the wind blows, if anger is stuck to the bottom of the sea, the ship will not leave its place. What is extra in you is like that anger. It has the power to stretch. The wind is blowing too, but anger won't get you anywhere. On the other hand, people who have become even a little lighter may feel differently even when they're looking at the same scenery. Even though I see the same sunrise, I feel a different warmth than I did yesterday. Even if you walk the same path, you will discover something different from yesterday. Even when talking to the same person, the connection is deeper than it was yesterday. The world has not changed. The space within me changed the amount of things I could sense. The difference starts very small. It's not a dramatic change. Not everything will suddenly change. Just a little. Something becomes lighter. That's all there is to it. But don't underestimate its small size. A small seed soon becomes a big thing. A small stream soon becomes a big river. A small crack can eventually change the entire wall. Small changes over time can make a big difference. A small step today could take you to a place you never imagined a year from now. The moon does more than just carve out what is visible. The feeling of uncertainty and uncertainty that has always been closed off in your mind may be slightly lessened. Your tenacity and attachment, your grip on things you couldn't let go of, may loosen just a little. The cloudiness of your emotions, the heavy feeling that has been in your heart for so long, may become a little clearer. It has been said that it acts quietly on such things as well. So tonight, with tomorrow approaching, should not be the night to decide what you will accept, but what you will no longer hold on to. If you only think about receiving, your hands will soon become full. If you try to catch more with both hands, it will just spill over. And then you lament the spill, but what you should lament is not the spill, but the fact that you didn't open your hand. Open your hands first. Open your space first. Open your heart first. These are the most important preparations you can make for tomorrow. I don't want to scare you here. I don't want to make you feel uneasy. But I must say, on days like this, it's hard to go back even if you realize it later. In many cases, it's not the date that you did it, but rather the fact that you let the momentum that day for organizing go by you. Momentum isn't always there. If you stretch it when the wind is blowing, you can go far. However, once the wind stops, no matter how much I stuff my cheeks with it, I can't move it forward. Tomorrow is the day that wind will blow. Whether you can feel the wind of adjustment, of letting go, of becoming lighter, depends on your attitude. So don't miss tomorrow. You don't have to do anything big. There's no need to try to make a spectacular rebirth. There's no need to tell anyone. There is no need to make a statement of intent. You don't have to show obvious changes to those around you. However, it was something that was clearly becoming heavy inside of me. Don't leave it as it is. Somewhere in my heart, I know that it's different. My head tells me I should keep going, but my heart has already drifted away. Something that is logically correct, but your senses reject it. Things that remain because they cannot quit rather than reasons to continue. When asked why they continue, the only answer they can give is because they do not have the courage to quit. Their batting ability appears stable, but stability and stagnation are similar things. It's something that drains your energy, but you turn a blind eye to. It's something that you create yourself in a situation where you can't help but come into contact with, even though it makes you tired every time you come into contact with it. You live your life avoiding it because you're afraid to face it, but even avoiding it requires physical strength, and continuing to avoid it is also exhausting. If you can cut yourself off from it even a little by tomorrow, the way you see the world from then on may change. Detaching does not mean completely erasing it. All you have to do is withdraw the energy you were putting into it. All you have to do is bring some of your attention back to yourself. All you have to do is turn your eyes a little inward instead of outward. That alone will change the way you feel. On the other hand, if we just let it pass by without touching anything, when the next flow comes, the old weight will remain blocking the same place. A new trend is coming, but there's no place to put it. So the current passes right in front of you. It will flow somewhere else before it reaches you. It's not that the flow is bad. There is simply no place to receive it. It's not that there wasn't a chance. It's just that my hands were full to take advantage of the opportunity. The difference will gradually widen later. What may initially be a small difference can grow over time into a distance that is difficult to reverse. Day one was just one step away. A week later, it's 10 steps behind. After a month, the difference is no longer visible. The difference is not a difference in ability. It's the difference between letting go or not. So I leave you here tonight. April 1st is not a day to add anything. This is the day to finally put an end to what is weighing you down inside. The end doesn't have to be sad. Ending doesn't have to mean losing. The end is a division. It is because there is a break that the next thing begins. If there are no problems with the text, you won't be able to continue reading. You can't take in fresh air unless you exhale. Ending is an act of creating space for the next beginning. So fearing the end is the same as fearing the beginning. If you feel even the slightest reaction deep in your heart right now, it's best not to ignore it. That reaction may be a sign that something inside you is telling you it's time. Perhaps his true feelings, which he has been hiding for a long time, are finally coming out into the open. If you push it back, you'll have to wait for another opportunity. And you never know when the next opportunity will come. The force pushing back anything that tries to break becomes stronger with each layer of shells. This is because anything that is pushed back will face even stronger resistance the next time it tries to move out. So if you're looking to get out now is the time. I've had enough. I'm confused enough already. Enough has happened already. The key is to acknowledge that you are enough. Since I've been worrying about it so much, I already have the answer. Since I've been lost this much, I can already see the direction I should take. You've carried so much, you can put it down now. I want to give myself permission. It's okay to let it go, so I hope you can thin out at least one of the excess things inside you tomorrow. You don't have to give up everything at once. One is enough. Just one is enough. That alone allows air to pass through. When the wind blows, the stagnation disappears. Just opening one window will freshen the air in the room. You don't need to open all the windows. The moon's power is not just due to being full. There is a definite meaning in continuing to wear it. The fullness is noticeable. The increase is easy to understand. That is why people only seek to be fulfilled. I want more. We need more. It's not enough. There is no end to that. But it is in this process that we prepare for the next full moon. If you don't pour it in, it won't fill up again. If you don't let go, you won't receive anything else. You can't start the next one until you finish it. This is the most basic process that repeats itself in nature. Tomorrow will likely be a day when we will quietly be asked whether we can put that meaning to use. Being on the useful side is not a position that only special people can hold. It's not a place just for the chosen ones. It's a place where people can stand. It is a place for those who realize the problem and take even a small action. The action can be really small. Let go of one idea. Loosen one attachment. Break one habit. Acknowledge one difference. That alone puts you in a position to be useful. Don't miss it. These boundaries are valuable precisely because they are not flashy. It is precisely because it is quiet that it has true power. Because no one notices it, it becomes a turning point that is just for you. Will tomorrow just be tomorrow? Or will it be a turning point where we can let go of the weight? That parting has already begun tonight. So tonight, before you fall asleep, close your eyes, breathe quietly, and ask yourself just one question. What one thing can you do tomorrow that is lighter than you are today? The answer doesn't have to be complicated. It can be said in just one word. Just one thing is enough. If you find the answer, I want you to sleep with it in your heart. When you open your eyes tomorrow morning, I want you to remember the answer. That alone will make your tomorrow more than just another tomorrow. The flow will be your ally. If this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe. We will continue to provide videos that will be useful in your life.